If you're looking to rewire your brain for Christ, you will have to start by shifting your focus. While this isn't easy when you're hit with multiple chronic symptoms, it can be done with consistent practice. I'm Brooklyn Hanna.
And I'm Nick Hanna, and we are Christian brain rewiring coaches helping you reverse chronic symptoms with neuroplasticity and renewing of the mind for Christ. If you enjoy the content today, please consider subscribing to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post a new video every week. First off, it's important to realize that whatever we focus on gets magnified and amplified in our hearts. So in other words, if we focus on our trials, our traumas, stressors, and our problems, we make them bigger and bigger. And these things will then become wired into our brain and we'll think about them more often. Focusing on our problems magnifies fear. So if you sit and obsessively search and focus on your symptoms, maybe you're trying to figure out what's causing them, the best treatments, how to get rid of them through your own research, etc., then you could be creating a fear-based response in your brain that causes the release of stress hormones such as cortisol, adrenaline, and norepinephrine in your body. And this is not good. Focusing on trauma for those with limbic system dysfunction activates the fight, flight, or freeze response. The stress hormones will continue to be released and worsen chronic symptoms. However, there is some good news. You can make the conscious choice to interrupt that cycle by shifting your focus. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is easy. It takes time and tons of effort on your end to wire out specific problems and traumas, but it can be done. Our mind can change our physical brain through the power of neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity, by definition, is the ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic connections, especially in response to learning or experience or following injury. So when you ruminate on the symptoms and problems, which are your current trials and suffering, this fear response leads to doubt and being afraid of the unknown. If we're not careful, the enemy can really take hold of us and spiral into a very dark place emotionally and even physically. These can bring on the feelings of being disconnected with God as well. We must remember not to live by our feelings, but by truth, which is the Word of God. If we don't, these negative thinking patterns can lead to depression, anxiety, PTSD, and ultimately chronic symptoms of all kinds. When we live in fear, focusing on our problems, we are not walking in faith. And faith and fear are opposites. They cannot coexist. And God calls us to walk in faith and trust Him with our trials while we renew our mind and change our heart for Him. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind." Fear comes from the enemy. John 10:10 says the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Fear makes you go backwards, and faith makes you go forward.
Yeah, there's a reason that God tells us not to fear over 300 times in the Bible. One of the ways to wire out trauma of illness is to not think or talk about symptoms the best you can. I get it, this is super tough, but when I was first sick, I was only able to eat 2 foods. All I could think about was the foods I was going to eat, or what I couldn't eat, I should say. My horrible brain fog, the pain, and the list goes on. I lived in constant fear mode. I feared my symptoms, food, chemicals, mold, people, and all kinds of things. I was basically paralyzed by fear mentally and physically. I felt as if there was no way out. I searched for hours a day on the internet looking for the answer to my symptoms. This made me spiral into worsening fear and despair. With doing this, my health actually got worse, and one of the biggest problems I discovered was that I gave my health more attention than my relationship with God. It got me absolutely nowhere because I was doing things in my own strength. I was trying to control the symptoms, but they were actually controlling me. My mind was consumed with symptoms, supplements, the best doctors, etc. If this sounds like you and you feel stuck in an endless cycle of searching for the answer, then I'm telling you that it does not have to be this way. If Jesus and brain training can make me go from fearful, bedbound, 30 pounds underweight, to a happy and healthy girl, then things can work for you too. There is hope and there is a way out. A supplement protocol or diet cannot replace what Jesus and brain retraining can do to help you heal from the inside out. It's so easy to focus on what is in our way instead of focusing on the God that makes a way. When you do this, things start to happen on a spiritual level, and God works to heal you from the inside out. The flesh dies, but your soul lives forever. With this in mind, what is more important, your physical health or your spiritual health? Proverbs 3:5 says to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. We don't have to figure this out. We don't have to keep saying why of our symptoms and trials. The cool thing is that typically when you get your spiritual health on point, your physical health gets better too.
Yeah, and actually Proverbs chapter 3 verses 7 and 8 says, "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones."
In our limbic system rewire program, we have our clients label their symptoms with an animal. We recommend that you do this too. We recommend this as it's best to try not to talk about them to yourself or anyone or focus on them while you're trying to rewire. So if you must talk about your symptoms to any of your family members, friends, or coworkers, you can just say animals instead of the word fatigue, headache, pain, whatever it is. You want to create a positive association in your brain so your brain doesn't look at them as big and scary and a big threat anymore. This will help you get out of the fight, flight, or freeze response. Because think about it, whenever you're talking about your symptoms, you may be complaining, anxious about the what ifs, or bringing negativity and self-centered attention to the conversation when you're talking with others. Plus, the ones who are really close to you likely already know the story behind your symptoms, so you don't need to further explain. I say this with love because believe me, I get how hard it is, but this is an important step for rewiring. Your limbic system will thank us later.
And while we can't control all the thoughts that pop into our mind, we can control what we choose to focus on throughout the day. So for example, if you're having a tough day, maybe you have lots of symptoms and you feel emotionally and physically depleted, and your friend was not nice to you earlier. You have a choice whether to pick up the Bible and pray or let your mind wander into negative loops. You can literally rewire your mind for Christ by shifting your focus to Him when triggers or tough times are present. By doing this, you calm the physical stress response happening inside of your body. And over time, this also creates physical changes in your brain and reverses chronic symptoms. It's so important to realize that our inner peace and contentment comes from Christ. Nothing in this world can fill that void. Money, people, jobs, perfect health, or anything else. So redirect your mind when you start spiraling into the negative about your symptoms or other trials in life, whether it was something in the past or something you are currently dealing with. Focusing on the positive, especially with God, is so healing to the brain. Physically, it secretes neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins that can help you heal. Spiritually, you are connecting with the Creator and letting Him take the lead. Turn everything over to Him. Give Him your burdens, your worries, your problems, your suffering, and ask Him for peace and contentment to see you through it. So, your action steps today are: do not talk about your symptoms and diagnoses if that's the main trial you're dealing with, and shift your focus onto God when you notice your mind focusing on them. Write a Bible verse on a note card that combats your most common negative thinking pattern. Anytime your mind wants to think negative, pull out that note card and read it. Your new default response is to go to the Word, not your negative thoughts. So here's an example. The fear: nobody understands how sick I am. I feel alone all day in my pain. The Bible verse: Deuteronomy 31:8. The Lord Himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. This will help you wire in new, healthy, positive neural pathways.
Now, doing this alone won't magically make your symptoms all go away with a snap of your fingers. It's not just like, poof, they're all gone.
Miracles can happen, though.
Yes, true. But like I said, we're not saying it's just as simple as snapping your fingers or just saying a prayer or not talking about your symptoms. It goes beyond this. It's not a genie wish, a request, and a request for God for an immediate answer. But with consistent retraining of the brain, it happens in time. And many people in our limbic system rewire program see shifts within a couple of weeks by doing these tips, plus the many other things that we teach. We've had clients reverse all kinds of things, from digestive problems to food sensitivities, lab work normalizing, sleep comes back, and so on. So, however, please do realize that full rewiring to the point where your symptoms are gone can take at least 6 months, if not a year. Be patient with yourself and start working towards rewiring your mind for Christ by shifting your focus today. If you're looking to get the best tips for rewiring your brain for health and happiness from a Christian perspective, join our free Facebook group. The link is below. If you're interested in having us help you rewire your brain so you can live happy and healthy again, schedule a free call below as well. We look forward to hearing from you. God bless.
And Godspeed.